everybody, it's Holger Mueller here from Constellation Research, welcoming you to our quarterly tradition here with my partner in crime, Martin Fischer, talking about all things SAP that happened in Q2 2025. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Holger. Good evening from Stuttgart, Germany. I think it's in the middle of the day on your side of the world.
Yeah. It's 11 o'clock in California. Sunny, finally sunny in Southern California. The picture has more clouds than the reality has in Southern California. So very good. Well, we had a busy quarter, right? With shall we start with Sapphire?
Yeah, I think that was almost at the beginning of the quarter. So
end of May.
Yeah, so right in the middle of the quarter.
Yeah,
but before that, there were, at least from SAP side, no announcements as usual. So I think let's start with that. And I heard you were on site. I wasn't.
Yes.
So maybe you can give some insights there.
Yes, made it to the Florida swamps. Not my favorite trip. Hard to get to. Delays with weather and so on. But yeah, it was good to be at Sapphire. Sapphire in the usual format, usual setup. I mean, few noticeable things. I think from an executive perspective, I mean, the comfort level of Christian Klein compared to a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I don't know. I think it's two factors which lead to it. One of them being that he, of course, practice makes champions, right? He's done enough Sapphires now. But at the same time, I think the retirement of Hasso Plattner brings out the owner-operator overlord in the overall setup, which I think makes a much more relaxed and entrusted relationship. And I think Ali Pekka being back there is easier to deal with than Hasso. And I dealt with both. So I think that's a big thing. But the big news, obviously, was the Business Data Cloud, which is a move which I'm often critical about SAP, but I congratulate them on something because this is what they should have done long time ago, right? And they did that, announced that. We talked about it in our last call already in February together with Databricks. So it's not like SAP is trying to build something internally again, which then may or may not work or take a long time to work, but partner with someone where if I'm an SAP customer and I need to build a data cloud, I mean, the options are Databricks, Cloudera, and then the cloud vendors, right? That's the options for me to do that. So good partnership for SAP. I expect more partnerships along that line to come because customers have other solutions, other partners want that too. I think the data cloud, the data lake will be dealt like the database, like the infrastructure vendors, and you can basically choose what to do. So important, right? Because there's so much more unstructured information, right? I've been criticizing SAP for a long time that there was no strategy in that space, that just the federation. We know now that federation doesn't work. Now we can talk about the leading vendor in agentic AI if we want to, which is not SAP, of course. But the issues they have with data federation, which is kind of like a long-term vindication from my side, because on the BI side, we had this discussion about replications versus federation. And one can just imagine if I build successful agents and I'm only federating data, my backend systems do not have the headroom for successful agents, right? They're sized for human users, not like hundreds or maybe thousands, which you want to have software agents or agentic agents, AI-powered agents. Otherwise, like some solid progression on the suite, not too much. I think SAP kept some stuff in the tank. They have a new event coming up for business users called SAP Connect, coming in fall. So they might be gearing up to a bi-yearly conference schedule with Sapphire and Connect. I'm not sure how that's going to be, but I think they held something back and some things weren't ready. On the technology side, I mean, it's good to see like Joule Studio, right, being available, so you can build your agentic applications. A little bit too quiet, like that, 2 months later, but summertime in Europe, we all know how that goes, where most of the customers who are looking forward made statements are. So I can't wait to look forward to hear what the first agents are that have been built with Joule Studio. And that sums it up. What did I miss, Martin? I mean, let me check my notes here.
Your notes, you finally got notes.
Like my notes, like from the way of working, right? I think I did one. I usually try to condense conference into a single slide, right? So that's my note cheat sheet of the most important things, so I don't miss anything. But
okay, then just some comments on what you just said, starting with Christian Klein. I fully agree. He's doing better on stage. Maybe also the success, and in this case measured by the stock rate, gives them also more confidence to stay on stage than 2 years back, probably. I fully agree with the data part. I don't want to repeat what the two of us discussed in our last podcast, which we recorded together about that this was an ongoing topic also in our conversation, that we are missing one part there, and it's finally there, and I think it's more important than ever. Finally, they realized that. And then one rather question about SAP Connect. I think SAP Connect used to be there also in the past, but it was more or less.
I can be wrong. I never got invited. Now I got invited. So maybe it's for the first time there's an analyst track.
Okay. I think it's a partner event, but I'm not 100% sure. But also one big thing for people in Europe, SAP Sapphire TechEd is back in Berlin in November. So yes. First on-site TechEd in Europe since 2019. That's a
way too long.
Way too long. Yeah.
Finally
looking
there.
Forward to it. So it's interesting. Interesting fact I realized this week. SAP TechEd is now cheaper than the SAP Insider event in Europe, which was interesting to see.
Well, maybe they want to get attendance there, right? I mean, Salesforce has shown that, right, with Dreamforce last year. You can move your install base massively in the agentic area with the right tools to adopt some technology. And I hope SAP woke up to it. I mean, most customers are in Europe, and they're the ones who have to be convinced. So having an in-person event, hopefully they get the right people there, the people who are techies, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the past it was like that. We will see how it turns out. I think it will be interesting how the event transformed in this 6 years of absence. I've been of the impression that, maybe it also needs to recalibration on SAP side. Probably many of the people who organized the last on-site TechEd event in Europe are not with SAP anymore. Just a guess, but just seeing how everything is coming rather on short notice for such a big event is interesting to see.
Yeah, but SAP can do that, and there's enough people there. And I'm not curious how global the event will be, right? Because there's so much innovation on the technology side where TechEd is for. So I would advise anybody listening here, even if you are in Asia or if you're in North America, wherever, if you're in the SAP ecosystem, I mean, let's look at the agenda. Maybe it's a dud. Hopefully not. There's so many things that are happening. It's the first time since a long time SAP has a great presenting, very strong, convicted CTO back with Phil Herzig. Let's not talk about the predecessor, but I think it's the event to be at if you are interested in agentic capabilities in the SAP ecosystem, which frankly every SAP customer needs to be, because that's the irony to me. Like if you look at from a longitudinal perspective, if you look at the data lakehouse, we talked about it earlier as the foundation under it to store all the digital assets, all the digital exhaust that an enterprise has. That would have been a great case also for business intelligence or call it analytics or insight to action or whatever it is, right? But it never happened, right? So evidently, companies care more about the transactions, that's where the sausage is made, than the analytics about the sausage and the transactions. So now everybody is looking and scrambling for data lakes. Vendors have to have data lakehouse offerings, as I call them, and build AI on top of that, which interestingly solves the BI issue, right? But leads to my concern, right? Because I hear SAP pushing so many of the old federated things like Prism and Insights offering and so on top of that, which is fine to do as well. But it really has to be the place where to build the applications. I almost forgot, right? The really interesting thing at Sapphire was a nice architecture trick or capability, you say trick, but very smart positioning. Due to the WalkMe acquisition, right? SAP has hooks into all kind of our transaction applications, right? Because WalkMe was guiding people to. Now they can use that beachhead hook, whatever you want to say Joule everywhere, which literally called it. So you can sit on a Oracle screen, on a Workday screen, on a ServiceNow screen, and say, what am I looking at, and how do I integrate that, right? Which WalkMe brings out of the box. So the most ambitious agentic or AI lending platform, which no other of the ERP competitors can build, of course, a lot of money, or acquiring whatever the WalkMe competitor has been, but a really, really interesting, technically feasible right from the get-go, because WalkMe runs in those applications already, to expose agentic service in combination and really helping people, because I'm looking at service now because of a problem combination with SAP. I have to switch screens, I have to move data, I have to wait for interface, and now you might be able to bring these things much better together. So very exciting. And I mean, I give them kudos for that. After Amazon Q, right, the boil, the ocean, everything be done, and we see it takes a long time to build big ambitions at Amazon, at everybody, of course, and big ambition there too, but with a significant head start thanks to the WalkMe acquisition. So really interesting to see. Yep.
Yeah, that's correct. And also, thanks for the insight. I didn't have that so far, but WalkMe, I think, is also, there's another interesting positioning of WalkMe within the SAP portfolio, which is the so-called transformation suite.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we ever talked about that in this podcast. I think not, but or maybe we touched it slightly. The transformation suite is actually limited for RISE customers, or is that
I'm sure you can buy it if you're
on a RISE journey.
Right, you get it for free. You get it for free. I'm sure somebody will find a way to sell it to someone who's not on the RISE part once and badly. I'm sure Joule Everywhere will not be limited to RISE customers, right?
Yeah, Joule, but the transformation suite. I'm talking about the transformation suite. That's limited for customers on a RISE journey, either on, how is it called now, ERP Cloud Private Edition or ERP Cloud Public Edition.
And the business suite is coming back, right? So all things come again. So
yeah. Well, by the way, if you say for free, I always tend to say it's not for free; it's bundled.
No, nothing is for free in life. Death and taxes are free. Yeah, you're right.
So there's nothing. There's no free lunch, I would say. But well, and I think that's also interesting. So the transformation suite is a combination of different tools. It's Cloud ALM, WalkMe, Signavio, and SAP Build, I think.
LeanIX.
And LeanIX, right? And all these tools together are tied together in a way that SAP finally supports customers in their S/4HANA transformation, which is more than overdue. We have, I think, it's 11th anniversary of S/4HANA now.
11 years already. Yeah. January 11 years, yeah.
So finally, SAP launches something which really eases its transformation. And what I saw and what I heard about it, I really see the value that you analyze your system, that that you get architectural diagrams in LeanIX out of it, that you also can include test automation into it, with also in combination with Cloud ALM and also the WalkMe capabilities in guiding the users, easing the change management there. And I think that's really a very good value proposition there, even for the RISE contracts, which I'm personally not the biggest fan of, but in general now I really see there's an added value in these tools which are added there. So as a partner, it's a bit hard to get it at the moment, to get your hands on, but different topic.
Totally agree with you. It's a hard differentiator for SAP. Like next competitors like Oracle, Work, they don't have that, but they don't have the upgrade problem in the same form, but there's a transformation from another system to that system. So very, very compelling on paper. Little disappointed how little has happened. Triple questions to the Sauer ESIG organization from my perspective, because that's where LeanIX was announced last year as well. Couldn't make first sense so much about the WalkMe acquisition, but now it's a super interesting story with Joule Everywhere. Will be interesting if SAP can package it better together, because the bigger transformation story is of course, like you said, getting ECC customers to S/4HANA, but I don't see the package offering, the mapping offering. And LeanIX does technical migration, right? Super interesting, right? LeanIX technical migration, lift and shift from my on-premise to the cloud, because I need to do AI, right? Then all of a sudden, like all the people who are saying I can run very steady workloads like ERP systems much more cost advantageously on premises because I can predict the utilization, right? Then I don't need the elasticity the cloud gives me. But with AI, I don't know how much AI is going to be consumed, right? So that's the irony. If we step back from a second, right? I mean, AI is pushing companies to the cloud who have not been to the cloud. And AI, that's what I thought in Q1, when we talk about the earnings call in a second, right, is saving SAP as well, because people know I need the elasticity of the cloud to be able to run AI applications, because I don't know how much AI I need in each quarter, so I can't do that on premise. Apart from almost impossible if you don't have Jensen Huang's number to get NVIDIA chips for your data center.
Yeah, yeah, that's another interesting topic. Yeah, as you touched the software SIG organization, were there some news or maybe even customer success stories about the enterprise architects SAP offers to all RISE customers since last year? There was the big RISE or this big announcement last year, even during the keynote, about this enterprise architects.
Yeah. Hard to do, right? Very successful, right? I remember Siebel, right, dating myself here in the 90s, came up with the TAM, the technical account manager, who basically was making sure that partner teams would know, not only technical was a little overstatement, I mean, all the technology contained into support was done, but also that from a functionality capability, everything was kept honest and people wouldn't build stuff which they wouldn't know, find the right functionality. So very successful model. I mean, the sooner any enterprise software vendor gets it in the street going, very hard to find those people who know the whole suite and can be a guided counselor to customers. So that might be the limitation. But yeah, not hearing much out of the
were there some success stories about this initiative at Sapphire? Did you hear anything?
I have not heard anything, but I wasn't so much on the services side. But there should have been the keynote, right? I mean, Thomas Saueressig had a keynote with who's now the head of sales, who used to be working product development.
Jan Gilk.
Jan Gilk, right? Jan Gilk did really good on stage. He had 2 keynotes, right? He got to not only do the technical keynote, but had the prominent, whatever, I don't know who the celebrity was, but doesn't really matter. The interesting thing, which I want to mention, right, in my takeaways was also that they did new stuff in BTP, much of the bread and butter stuff, a lot of work on integration. But the most interesting thing they showed an ABAP LLM for the first time. Yeah, and that's really key, both from generally the BTP platform, from the build perspective, that I can generate ABAP code. They haven't gone to vibe coding yet, but that will be potentially relevant, because the dirty secret is there's millions of lines of ABAP code out there, which enterprises use. So how to get those ABAP code to S4HANA and move them, to me, and I might be oversimplifying things, right? To me, that is an classic AI question, right? How do I move that code, understand that code? They had a nice demo about interpreting the code, right? One of the big problems is that many of the people who wrote critical code are no longer in the enterprise, not because they're not working anymore. They're not working anymore, they're retired, but they're working for competitors. So they're very positive to see the work on the ABAP LLM. So looking forward to that. Similar.
Yeah, I see a big use case in supporting the migration to a clean core with this, but I also see the challenges, because just moving to a clean core also needs to there need to be a re-architecturing happening, and that's, I think, the most critical stuff for now, also for LLMs. I mean, they are very good in suggesting code changes and suggesting how to code on different methods and classes, but to restructure and redesign a whole legacy code base, that's probably really hard to do. Also, implementing separation of concerns and clear layering with separation between UI and business logic and database. And I know how all these custom code base ABAP stuff looks out there in the wild. Often they are pretty much mixed, so with no clear layering and all that kind of stuff. So it's really hard to also clean up those systems. But with the overall goal in mind, moving customers to the public cloud, I think that's also for SAP the most critical and most interesting use case.
Absolutely right. I don't see, except for things where it really doesn't fit, people rewriting things for sure. So I think the lift and shift and hopefully renovate and innovate later aspect will come, because a lot of focus of new development capacity is now moving to agentic AI. Nobody should potentially, right? Even if you have non-efficient ABAP code, not separating things between storing and memory and CPUs and so on, if it still runs and is maintainable, you might run that another 5 years, hoping and praying for something to happen and build better, like a few hundred agents or a few dozen agents, which are relevant to the enterprise. I see that. But that's pretty much for
I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, also with all S/4HANA migrations and coming to the topic of custom code, I don't see the big challenge, the biggest challenge in just extensions and whatever, adding a screen there to an SAP transaction or building something custom. That's for sure also a problem. But what I also saw, customers using the NetWeaver platform as a development platform, which is now more or less not really an option anymore. Because you don't get the vanilla NetWeaver server anymore. You need to get an S4 system. And I mean, SAP was also guiding customers into this direction. It was a product you could buy it. I mean, it's gone since, I think, 5 years already, or at least I think that was announced at the last TechEd in Barcelona in 2019 that there will be no ABAP stack only option more for S4, so not the pure application server, only S4 with all the applications on it. Looking into these customers and into their situation, I think what's really different to the whole S4 systems there, they don't even use the functionality they get with S4.
Right.
And it's in the end, it's just custom code built in ABAP because it's there. And of course, you can move it to the ABAP environment, steampunk environment on BTP. But this also comes with a lot of refactoring, as you need to apply the latest syntax with ABAP Cloud. There's way more restrictive. I don't see any business case for that. Of course, if you look at the whole install base, probably a small percentage of them, but they have real challenge there to get away from the old NetWeaver stack.
Correct. Like everything, technical debt. Right, that's pretty much for Sapphire. Right, SAP announced their earnings this week, just
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I think solid.
Almost Wednesday here in Europe.
Exactly. Yeah. Super interesting. 11 p.m. press conference talking about how European enterprise, the largest German public enterprise, caters to the North American analyst community to do a Q&A at 11 p.m. But for that, Christian Klein, Dominika Sam were pretty awake. Easy for me to follow. But yeah, well, good to see. I'm really disappointed about the questions of the analysts with a tie, as we call them, right? Because they still show up with ties at any event, basically, the financial industry analysts, whereas us industry analysts, because I show up in sneakers, right? But yeah, I mean, maybe not in jeans. Maybe not the best quarter in terms of a little more growth would have helped SAP. There's no question about it. The outlook is also relatively conservative, right? And Christian talked about trade issues and so on, but I don't think SAP is really affected from it because it's so essential for anybody. Nobody will slap a tariff on SAP, and you can make a good case. A lot of SAP is being built in North America anyway, right? So I think
I think the main reason for this risk they see is around the economy outside America, probably. So what I hear also from my Asian colleagues, that customers are really careful with their investments. Same applies for Germany. I think now for 3-4 years already, where the economy is not really good here, and probably for that applies a bit for rest of Europe if the biggest economy is a bit struggling. So we used to be the engine for it, and we are not there at the moment. So probably that's affecting SAP more indirectly, the whole tariff situation.
I totally agree with you from the general economic perspective, but if you throw in the technology perspective that AI is around and it allows you to change the efficiency and the effectiveness of how your enterprise works, that's exactly what you need. So I think we'll see, if there would be no massive technology innovation and talk about it, it would be really, really bad. I think we would see drops in revenue and not investing, but the investment will shift from traditional things. And maybe we'll see, like speaking about SAP with such a large legacy install base, even remember the side-by-side for ERP, we might even see a side-by-side. And I don't want to be the algo for that. And everybody at SAP will say, no, that's not going to happen, right? Of seeing Joule working stuff in ECC, right? And to a certain point, right, we wear a Joule everywhere. WalkMe plugs into ECC, of course, right? So this is not too far-fetched if customers really want that and need that. And if there's one thing that you can argue with SAP, sometimes they listen to customers, sometimes they don't listen to customers, but if it affects the spending, they very much listen to customers. So they do what customers really need and want when they yell loud enough or threaten them loud enough, right? So, and that might be the solution. So I'm not so much worried for software growth in general out of the tariff situation, right? Because as long as you have a good AI story. Yeah. And then the big looming thing, of course, in the earnings call, the question came also, right? Will SAP further do talent changes? Will there be another layoff? How well will be paid for? If I understood Dominic Assam well, they did not exclude that. So I'm pretty sure there's coming one. We hear that from the grapevine. They can't make it as expensive like the first ones, right? So every time they do a massive reduction, the most generous one was the very first one, but it will be less generous. That's what they say. We'll see when the pudding is in the pool. And I haven't read it yet, right? The interesting email from Satya Nadella, why with profits there are layoffs, right? So at Microsoft. Let's see how much of that argumentation will apply equally to SAP. But yeah, I mean, the talent retooling that is needed, combined with an aging workforce, is a big problem everywhere, but particularly in Europe. And yeah, SAP, I see the opposite problem, that lots of people who know how things have been done are no longer there. And the next generation is 20 plus years away from them, 25 years away from them, are certainly talented, but don't even know what has been done or can be done or has been done. Yeah. So, but we'll see. But it is what it is.
For sure. At least following the German press, they interpreted the announcement about restructuring like there will be a continuous restructuring happening every year with 1 to 2% of the whole workforce. That was more or less the media coverage they got about this topic here. Of course, the press is also very sensitive about this here. But we will see.
Good. What did we forget? I'm a little time constrained today. Sorry, can't go so long, but short is sometimes better. What do we still have to talk about?
We in our very short preparation call, we touched on the Celonis case, SAP case. Interesting. I think we also touched that last time already. So yes. There's a lawsuit in the US, in California, actually, which is also interesting. Celonis used to be or probably still is, the market leader in the data mining, process mining area, not data mining, process mining area.
Hey, life is catching up. Good.
Ja, mein Sohn ist gamma. Ja, ich komme gleich nachher. Jetzt gehst du ins Bett, ich komme gleich.
No, all good. Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting problem, Mike. As I mean, the startup I worked for, we had the problem of indirect access in the 80s and 90s. At the end of the day, it's customers who own their data and should be able to put their data and put it where it is. And SAP shouldn't, any ERP vendor shouldn't make it hard for them to get to their data. Right, but they keep doing this, and it will be interesting. Two key landmark lawsuits, not only the Celonis one, but there's a Teradata one as well. Similar, same problem, indirect access. We'll see how that ends. Yeah. And that's okay. We can leave it here. Take care of the next generation of ABAP developers.
I don't know if I would recommend him to do that.
We'll see. Well, it's going to be so easy with vibe computing, vibe programming, right? So
yeah.
Don't worry.
Ja, ich komme gleich, Matteo. Du musst
Don't
kurz telefonieren lassen. Interesting to follow, and I'm really also interesting about the outcome. I think there's also, if you look into the details about the Celonis case, I think some interesting questions for the whole software industry in general about how much is a vendor allowed to restrict API access and stuff like that. I think also especially interesting in the AI times now, where data is definitely the key driver for growth and for future capabilities also. So right. I think that's really interesting to follow there. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks everybody. Sorry that short on time, or I'm short on time, or much short on time too. Somebody knocking on the door. That's the first, right? So take care of the next generation of ABAP developers, and I need to run to my appointments. Thank you, Martin. Always insightful. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you agree, don't disagree, don't agree. Don't disagree means agree. No, if you disagree, which is more interesting, if you missed something, if we should talk about something else, if you have a different point of view, please share it in the comments on our socials as we publish this. Thanks for watching.
And also you will find it on Coffee Corner Radio as a podcast as usual. Rate us on your platforms and provide feedback. We are looking forward to it. And as usual, we are also open for topic suggestions. So I'll let you run to your appointment and enjoy your weekend. And,
thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate it. Happy summer.
Happy summer. Yeah. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye.